What's up, y'all? It's John Joffrey with Revent Builds in the beautiful city of Austin, Texas. And if you haven't heard, you should know that the city of Austin is not the most developmentally friendly city. It is extremely hard code-wise to build in this city. In this video, I'm going to get into all the details and the major pain points that you should know when developing in the city of Austin. Let's get into it. Protected trees, one of the most highly debated topics in the Central Austin Code, especially within the McMansion Ordinance. Right here is an over 40-inch diameter heritage tree. So what that means, how we measure a tree in Austin, in Central Austin, is above grade. You start at grade, you go 4 feet up. You take the diameter of that tree. If it is over 19 inches, it is a protected tree. There are a few different circumstances on when you can get them removed, if it's hazardous, if it poses a really big threat to safety or something of that nature. It is very hard to remove even a protected tree. A heritage tree is any tree over a 24-inch diameter. This can only be removed with an act of state Congress, so it is not happening. Now get this, you think you're crafty and you want to chop down a tree when no one's looking? If the city finds out or if a neighbor calls on you, they will enforce what's called a shadow tree rule. You will get fined $1,000 per inch, and you're still imposed with these same building restrictions. So if we have a 20-inch tree, what you do is from the center of that tree, you make a 20-foot diameter circle. Now the critical root zone is half of that zone. So if you just go out 10 feet around the tree, this is where restrictions are imposed. Only 51% of the half critical zone can be impacted, and only certain types of impacts. For instance, if your tree is right next to the yard and your neighbor's house is right up against it, you might not have any room to impact that tree extra. Now get this, the quarter critical zone. So on a 20-inch diameter tree, 10 feet would be half, 5 feet would be the quarter zone. That's a 5-foot diameter circle around that tree. You cannot impact it in any way, shape, or form. You cannot put a fence post there, let alone a foundation. So what this means is if you have a massive tree like this in the smack dab center of your yard, you cannot cut it down, you must build around it. And if you cut it down, they will act like it is still there and you'll get fined out the butt. Okay, now, how you get around some of this. This is our ADU. Luckily, we have a pier and beam foundation, so this is a little bit more forgiving. We could not put a concrete slab here, but what they will allow is called a diamond pier. It's like a bell-shaped pier with a diamond under the ground. This right here is a 6-foot long fence post, basically. It's a stake, and you jackhammer those in around in kind of a ninja star pattern, and that will suffice. Our structural engineer signed off on this, and the tree review allowed it. Now come check out our main house. So as we're just looking at this, right over there, it's such a massive area. I mean, this is a 40-foot circle, right? Because this is a 40-inch tree. So even on our main house, now you can see those diamond-shaped piers more exposed. These 3 piers are all in the half critical zone, so that's why we had to do it. Over there where you see the concrete piers, that is okay. But this is the type of ingenuity that you need, and most times it's just limiting how much you can build on your lot. So it's costing you money to build, but it's also costing you money because you can't develop it fully. FAR, floor to area ratio, is arguably the most important item in the McMansion Ordinance. Now, what floor to area ratio pertains to is any enclosed square footage, including garages, carports, and even detached. So what that means is that only 40% of your lot square footage can be enclosed space. So if you have a 10,000 square foot lot, the max FAR you can do is 4,000 square feet. Now, there are many complications to this, especially in a tight inner city lot. But when you have almost 3/4 of an acre, this is what you can build. Now, the topic of FAR runs deep. This is a very complex issue. When looking into FAR, there's multiple other factors that need to be taken into consideration. Impervious cover, because that's underneath your enclosed spaces. Driveways, parking, garages, carports, accessory dwelling units. All of these things will combine to make a total FAR for your whole lot. Now, I mentioned earlier that FAR applies to any enclosed space. That even applies to garages and carports. So we're out here at Casa Tulum. We have a 2-car attached garage. That means we get a 200 square foot exemption from FAR. And then over here, we've built a new detached carport. A detached garage or carport gets an exemption of 450 square feet from FAR. But there's a caveat if you want to make it a carport. You have to have at least 2 sides open. The garage door is one opening, and then this other side is open, but that's going to be wooden slats to give that visual barrier. Now, this particular property, we are killer on our FAR. We have our attached garage exemption, we have our detached carport exemption, and because the lot size is a pretty decent shape, we're way under on our FAR. But now impervious cover, that's a different story. Per the City of Austin and McMansion, you are only allowed 45% of your lot square footage to be impervious cover. That means pool decks, driveways, slabs, even roofs, coverings, awnings, any type of soffit, even decks, regular wooden decks count as half impervious cover. Now get a load of this. We have a massive covered patio over there. All of that square footage below counts toward our impervious cover. Our detached carport, our garage, this huge pool deck, our massive driveway. We are basically right here in hitting our 45% mark. Now this is really important and you want to check this along the way. And at the end, the City of Austin makes us get an impervious cover survey to show that we are under 45% of our lot square footage. If we're over, we have to start ripping out concrete and impervious cover till we make it. And that is the last damn thing you want to do. The tent is one of the sneakiest deal killers out there. How the tent works is you go 5 feet in on your side setbacks, up 15 feet, and then at a 45-degree angle where that meets makes a tent, and only very specific parts of the home can pierce the tent. That's gables, dormers, and roof structures. So we have to get extremely creative on how we frame this, how we permit this, how we present this to the city. The good thing about the tent is at the sides is where it's most stringent, but you see in the middle that can be our highest point because that's where that peak is. So if you're working regularly in Central Austin, you need to become really, really hyper familiar with the code. And in doing that, you can take advantage of some loopholes. I would like to present to you the attic exemption. This space is exempt from our FAR because remember, the FAR limits us to 40% of our lot size. This house should only be 2,500 square feet. But since all of this space is attic exempt, we have over 3,100 square feet now. The qualifications are, it has to fit within the roof framing without adding anything extra. 51% of the space has to be 7 feet or below. There is no height restriction. But why this space works so well is the tent actually kind of flows through this sort of a pattern on a diagonal. But remember, I said certain roof structures like gables and dormers can pierce the tent. So we're standing in this elevated area of a dormer and it makes this whole space much more functional. And the kicker is you can sell it at the same dollar per square foot as the rest of the house. Setbacks, a very crucial element. When we're building new homes, we have to get a form survey to ensure that no part of our new structure is in our setback. Now, what a setback is are areas that we are not allowed to build in. You have to be 25 feet off your front property line, 5 feet off each of your side property lines, and 10 feet off the back of your property line. But now, that is straightforward. Where this can get complex is like behind me, where we have an existing structure that was built in the 20s back inside of our rear setback. Now, with anything existing, you do get grandfathered. The city cannot make you tear down what is there, but anything you build new has to conform with setbacks and many other rules. Now I want to show y'all a very interesting real life example of where setbacks, being grandfathered, and power line restrictions meet. So here, we had a 2nd story addition above this garage. Remember, the lower part of the garage and that roof is in the exact same place it was. They cannot make us move it, but we're obviously inside of our 10-foot setback. So what we have to do when we build the new portion, that has to be moved 10 feet back to conform with the rear setback, but this is 15 feet because any power line that is carrying high voltage, any part of your structure, not including grandfathered structures, has to be outside of a 15-foot diameter circle from each one of those lines. So if you're trying to build up, you say, okay, we'll just be 15 away on top. Nope, you gotta be 15 away on the bottom one too. And the biggest part about this is if you by accident built that structure closer than 15 feet, the city can and will make you rip it out to conform. Okay, so we are out here in Bolden Creek in the heart of central Austin. We have a tight lot with many different restrictions. We're probably hit from all angles here. Trees, power lines, we have an accessory dwelling unit, which I'm standing in. We're remodeling the main house. We have some grandfathered, we have some new construction, and this is just very complex. This is a perfect example of why you could never recycle a floor plan. Like if someone's like, hey, we found this floor plan online and we want to put it smack dab in the center of Austin. No way, no how, because of all those restrictions that I've said. So when dealing with an ADU, one of the restrictions is you can build up to 1,100 square feet or 15% square footage of your lot size, whichever is smaller. Here, we were able to do an 1,100 square foot ADU, but here's the caveat. As I said, there's an existing main house, so you have to add the FAR from the ADU and the main house, and that combined number cannot be more than 40% of your lot size. All right, y'all, that was a brief overview of some of the major pains in working in the City of Austin code. If you have any more comments, please comment below. I'm an open book. I'm here to answer all your questions, but thank y'all so much. Please like, comment, subscribe. I love y'all. See you later.